Hello, Carla.
I'm going to take off my gun because I'm chewing. Let's
you know,
do this.
In the morning, Carla, you say, you know what I love about? Yeah, say.
What?
You always tell me how beautiful I am in the morning. Why is it? I'm watching. I'm looking at your glasses.
Because you're blind.
All right, let's do this. What is going on? Welcome to another episode of Do the Work podcast. I am your host, Araujo.
And I am Carla Araujo.
And we have a very interesting topic today because it continues to come up regardless of where we're at in our business, where we're at in our marriage, and everything else, right, Carla?
That's right.
But before we get started, I want to remind you to rate, subscribe, and review to Do the Work podcast, and you can find it on your favorite podcast provider, including Stitcher and all the other good ones. And by simply typing in Do the Work, we should be the first ones that pop up. And we're actually doing something a little special here for you. If you actually rate and review our podcast, for the first 10 people that do that, rate and review, whether it's a good review or a bad review, I don't mind. Just tell me the truth. Tell me how you feel. If this has helped you, let me know. I will actually send you a Do the Work shirt. And I got a model here today. Come on over. For those of you on the podcast, you won't be able to see it, but it's just a really cool shirt. Go ahead and turn around there for me. And it's the rep shirt, right? Do the work. And I will actually pay for your shipping as well. So it'll be absolutely free, including shipping. And all you have to do is go to the podcast, review it, take a picture of your review, and email it to me at az@dothework.com. Or I'll even make it easier for you. If we're connected on Facebook or on Instagram, take a picture of it and send it to me, and I will get connected with you, and we will send you a shirt, absolutely free, shipping included, all on us, just for doing us the favor of telling us how you feel.
Are we
what do you think about that? I think we're good.
I like it. Are we good?
I think we're good.
All right.
So, Carla, here's the thing. Owning business is hard. Marriage is hard. Taking care of our bodies is hard. Like, everything is hard.
It is.
And, here's the thing. I think when things are hard, that is the first time, that is a key action item. Or when we feel like things are not going our way, that's at the very moment we start comparing ourselves
and let's be
to
honest.
others.
Let's be honest.
All right, let's be honest.
We all compare.
We all compare.
No one can sit there and say, I don't compare. I'm beyond that game.
Yeah.
It's like, no, we all compare.
Lying.
Let's be honest. We compare about our business, our life, our personal life,
our marriage,
our bodies, everything.
Yeah, everything's a trigger. Everything's one of those things where it's part of human nature. We're going to compare, right? How we handle it is what will separate you from happiness to being unhappy and miserable. But it's real easy, regardless of how far we've come in life, how far we've come in our marriage, how far we get into our businesses. There's always that little demon around there.
The comparison game isn't as big when things are going good. The comparison game is big in our minds, and then it starts to create stories when things are really bad. Then you start to compare, and it's like, well, that person's doing better than me, or their marriage is good, it's on fire. But when things are good, the comparison game really doesn't start.
Yeah, it doesn't really, right? Because we're focused on ourselves.
Right.
And I think that's the best way to combat comparison is to continually just focus on what you're doing and how far you've come in your marriage, right? And it's real easy to look at a different marriage and say, look how good they have it. But every time you do that, you completely discredit everything that you've done for your marriage.
You're taking a step back. You take a step back on things that you've worked so hard to make that marriage work, and all of a sudden the comparison game, you're taking a little step back to taking yourself back the way it used to be. Versus like, wow, things are really good.
Well, you're only seeing it from that perspective, right? Yeah. So let's say, for example, things we're getting into an argument, and we see somebody lovey-dovey on Facebook.
Well, I'm gonna get into a better example. I'm gonna get into a real life example.
Okay. Well, you got excited about it, so go ahead.
I did. I always get excited about our examples because it really used to be us, not so much us now.
But it's still
just
there,
on a different level.
A different level.
Just a different level. That's all it is.
Okay, talk to me, Chief. I don't even know where you're going with this.
Now I communicate myself with you like, I'm playing the comparison game right now, and your game is weak. So you got to step it up.
Listen.
So,
listen.
Yeah, it is.
You're like all in my grill here.
Because I just thought about something. You know
what's funny
I get so
about
passionate with my stories because I'm just like, man, it's a trigger. That's what's hard about doing this podcast with you because they're little triggers But now I communicate with you so much more now. Like
you put yourself in that situation, like if you were still there, like it's just happening right now.
I know.
Anyways, I feel like it's going to be against me. Well,
it is going to be against you. It is going to be. But now you're at a different level too. That you can say, hey, it's not me. It's the old me. So go ahead. You're going to take it differently.
Before you start, I'm glad you brought that up because I was talking to a good friend of mine that I haven't seen in a couple of years, right? We stay in contact. Anytime I get an opportunity to see him, I do. Anytime we go to California or he was here yesterday, and we were discussing that, about how I lost my train of thought here.
Well, don't worry. I'm going to go ahead and
was that? Go ahead.
I'm going to get it for you. I'm going to pick it up.
Okay.
That's normally what I do when things fall for. I pick up.
All right, go ahead. Pick up the pieces.
Pick up the pieces. So the comparison game, going back to the marriage. The romance.
Oh, there it was. Okay.
It's too late. No, it's too late, my brother. It's too late.
It's about like how we have discussions, right?
All right.
And
go ahead.
It used to trigger me. I used to get upset when you used to bring something from the past. Okay. I'm glad I remembered. Okay. When you would bring something from the past, I would still take offense to it. Right? Like you used to do this, that, or the other. Remember when you did this to me? Then I would take offense to it, and I would get very defensive.
Yeah.
And then that would start an argument.
Right.
A disagreement. And I told him now that when you bring something up, it's like I'm on your side. I'm like, yeah, that dude was a jerk. Yeah, we're talking about me in the past, but I've separated myself so much from who I was to who I am that it
goes to the same thing as. I think I compared you to a lot, and I didn't give you the. I guess credit. I didn't give you the credit going into the marriage of like, this is who you are. Why am I trying to change you? Because now when you're married or when you're in a relationship, or even when you're in business with your husband, you start to look on the outside what everyone else is doing, how they're handling each other, how they're talking to each other.
Yeah.
Who plays the main role in whatever position they're in. So that's kind of the way it starts. Because when we got married, it was you and I. We focused on each other. Now we're influenced by outside. And we don't know what they were doing is right or wrong or what they were doing right. It's just a comparison game once again. So let me go back to the story I was going to tell you. So when I met you, you're not this romantic, I guess, I don't know, this just romantic guy. You're not. You're just, this is who I am. That's it.
That's it.
You're not the person that comes and hugs and cuddles and tells me sweet things.
I do on occasion. I tell you all the time, actually.
Okay, now we're talking about the person in the past.
In the past, okay.
So stay there with me.
Okay.
Stay there with me.
The
please.
old me, okay.
The old you.
Because I was already becoming defensive.
Right. See what you just did? It's
well,
not
you didn't tell
you.
me you were talking about the old dude.
Well, yeah, I'm talking about the old guy. The old guy. Not this old guy. The old guy.
The non-bearded dude.
Yeah, the non-bearded dude.
There's a direct,
the naked guy with no
the
beard.
naked guy.
Yeah, that guy. So you weren't that person when I met you.
Okay.
Right. It was always me that would gift you, like, remember those Easter baskets I used to bring you, like huge. I would do anything for you, right? Because I was just
Valentine's.
Yeah,
was
just a
awesome.
nurturer. That's who I am. I'm just that's who I am as a person, right? And you as a person is just, well, you're just not that person. You're the opposite of me, right? So I think that's why we attracted each other because you brought something to the table that I didn't, and vice versa, kind of deal. So anyway, going back, having this conversation. I had this conversation yesterday with a young lady. And I said, what do you want in your marriage? And I'm going to go into us. She said, I want love. I want romance. I want compassion. I don't want to be treated like a child. I want to be treated like a woman.
Yeah.
I need to be, I don't know. I need to be treated like, somebody's girlfriend in a sense and in a romantic way, somebody's wife, respect, So I said, well, what does that mean to you? Like, what does that mean? Because that can mean something completely different to me. So what does it mean to you?
Right.
So as she's describing, I'm like, she's not being detailed in what you actually want. What does romance mean to you? What does that mean to you, right? So I'm like,
to me, it means like R. Kelly.
Right. So you need to have a little bit more detail.
The first album, right? Like
you need to have a little bit more detail than what you actually want, so you can communicate that, right? And if the other person's not receiving it or just kind of not taking it, because if I come to you, AZ, and I told you back in the past, this is what I want, and you're not giving me this time, you're not giving me this romance. And to you, it was like, what do you want? Because romance to me is, I'm bringing the buffalo. I have you in a nice car and in a house and this and that. I'm like, that's not romantic to me. I want you to be like all in and just being there and being kind and just different, compassion, just different. So that you didn't understand that. So I didn't even understand that. Because I literally didn't know what that meant, because I'm looking on the outside what everyone else is doing versus what I actually want in my marriage. So what is it do I want, Carla? Do I want to wake up and have my husband kiss me on the forehead and say good morning? Do I want him to hug me from the back? Do I want him to bring me roses? What exactly does that mean? Because I'm playing the comparison game.
And you don't even know what you're comparing.
And I don't even know what I'm comparing. I just know I want more. Well, what does more mean? So when I was talking to her yesterday, I'm like, you need to be really detailed and exactly real clear on what you actually mean by what you want more in your marriage, or it's all going to be so confusing to you.
Yeah, and it really sends you down the slippery slope because you just know you don't want what you have, but you don't know what you want.
As women in a marriage, it's not the norm to bring the romance to the table. It's always the man should bring to the table. So I changed it a little bit. Around a little bit because I started to become kind of hateful towards you. Like, fine, you're not going to give me this. I'm going to give you that back in return. I'm not going to be sweet with you anymore. I'm not going to do the things that I used to do. And it used to hurt me because I literally was that as a person.
Right.
So I used to be like, okay, you know what? I'm going to hold myself back from babying you and giving you all these
because I'm not reciprocating.
Because you're not. So I'm like, well, let's play. You want to play the game? I can play it too, kind of deal, right?
And
so
I was clueless that we were even playing a game.
You were even clueless. Yeah, you weren't even playing the game. So
most guys are like that. Guys,
correct,
I'm watching
right? Because you don't know that. So I had to be a little bit more clear. Now, when I was clear, you still didn't get it. You still didn't understand what I meant because I still compared myself to other marriages and other relationships.
Right.
So now it was like, okay, Carla, now you need to be clear what you want in your marriage and stop waiting for him to come in and bring that to the table. Instead, you need to move forward into bringing that to the table and showing them that, hey, I too can be romantic. I don't need to wait for you.
If that's what you want, you're bringing it to the table. Yeah. Got it.
So that's why I started bringing, hey, let's start going out more. Mm-hmm. Let's start, let's start glazing into each other's eyes. It's just sit here and look at me because I want to talk to you. It doesn't matter if you listen to me or not. I want my morning kisses. So I was very detailed. I was very, I knew what I wanted. So I was very direct in what I wanted. And you were like, okay. And you thought it was a little, I don't want to say it was comical to you. It was just not the norm for you. It was different. Mm-hmm. So it was hard for you to adjust. And there's still some times that you fall back and I have to bring you back. Mm-hmm. But I don't bring you back now with an attitude like you're not doing it. See, you're ignoring me. It's like, hey, don't forget we're going out tonight. Yeah. Hey, don't forget I want you to chill.
It used to be like, I felt like you used to always try to set me up, Carla. And I told you this before. And I think a part of you did, and I don't want to speak for you, but I think like sometimes I would get set up. Like we would make plans and then you wouldn't bring it up at all. Like hoping I would forget. That's the way I interpret it.
And I probably did. I maybe
hoping I would forget, or hoping that and then I would forget or something, and then it would be turned on me like, Well,
it's kind of like this. It's kind of like children. It's kind of a marriage. That's exactly what it is. It's kind of like a child.
We're two children, two childs.
Yeah, whatever.
Two kids.
So check this out.
Okay.
It's kind of like this. It's kind of like telling a child, you're grounded, and really not following through with it. And the kid being like, okay, yes, she's not. I'm going to see if she remembers or not. I'm going to continue on to see if she remembers that I'm grounded. So it's kind of like fighting against something that you're hoping the other person. But it is. When you have that type of attitude or that type of personality kind of deal, you're acting like a kid. You're acting like a kid. Why not just pick up the phone and say, hey, don't forget about our date tonight?
Yeah, yeah.
So you're acting like a child. I'm not going to remind my
you were
parent
acting like a child.
that I'm grounded. It's like, are you going to remember or not?
Yeah.
So let's see if you really stand by your word. I'm grounded. Yeah. That's kind of what I'm saying. So when you have that kind of attitude, you're acting like a kid.
Yes.
So I didn't realize that I was doing that to you. Mm-hmm. And if I was acting like a child. I was, because I was trying to get your attention. Just like when kids do bad things, it's like, I really want your attention because you're not home.
Right.
So that's kind of what I'm saying. We're like children.
Yes.
So same thing. When you didn't show up to the plans you planned.
Yeah.
It was like, okay, I'm gonna see if I'm acting like a child. So
instead of just being on the same page and say, hey, I'm
a grown ass woman.
Yeah.
So I'm a grown ass woman in a marriage, and it's like I need to communicate myself. Hey, you said 7:00, you should be here.
Yeah.
So I'll meet you at the restaurant. So, and it's funny because that's exactly what I started doing. I started setting these times that we're gonna go out, and I'm like, with you or without you, I'm going to be at this restaurant.
Well, it's much, and
you
I love
better
that.
believe your butt races home, and you're like, hold on, what time is Uber getting? Like your mindset is different. Do you know why? Because I took control and knowing what I wanted, and I was very clear. Either you're
instead
on page
of holding
or not.
that resentment, instead of holding all that frustration, and then ruining the entire evening. I remember that.
Even trips. Like if I want to take trips, you don't plan them. Yeah. You're not a romantic, let's go to Tahiti kind of guy. I'm like, no, hey, we're going, and I planned it. We're good. Pack your stuff. We're out. So I'm bringing the romance. I'm bringing all this to the table. Not to say you're not, but for the most part, I didn't meet you like that. But you met me like that.
Right.
So, and even if I didn't want it back then, I want it now. So how do I get it? I'm going to create it.
Yeah.
So it doesn't mean that, oh, okay, Carla, I didn't meet you romantic. I didn't meet you like this. It doesn't matter. I want that right now. And I'm going to create what I want.
As opposed to
getting angry and acting like a little kid and folding my hands and be like, well, he's not paying attention to me. It's like,
I like that voice.
No.
And not only that, and saying, you don't bring me flowers, you don't do this.
Yeah. So guess what happens? The husband, may he be honest or not, you become a little annoying. And I'm going to tell you, stepping back and looking at myself, I was a little annoying. I'm going to see. Well, I'm going to say this to you because if I was doing that or not, I probably was. I wanted to see if you would stand by your word. What am I trying to prove?
Right.
What am I trying to prove? Why am I trying to be your mother?
Because what's happening is you're putting all this emphasis on one little thing that I'm not. Right.
Right.
And you're discrediting me for everything else that I am.
Right.
And that's the thing. I think with marriages, we just focus on one element of it. That we forget. Like, it's funny. The other day we got into a big argument, a big fight, disagreement, and I'm focused on why you're this person here, right? Just focused on one characteristic, one element of it, and then I go to our kitchen area, our temporary kitchen area, because we're getting our house remodeled, but and I'm taking my night pills that you set out for me.
Oh yeah,
you set out all my pills for me. And here I am pissed off on these little characters that discredit everything else you bring into the relationship.
Right.
And I think that's where we need to take a step back, right? Because the comparison game, what it does, it only emphasizes one particular moment or one a particular characteristic. Oh, he wrote me this beautiful note, this poem. And then we start thinking, well, my husband doesn't do this or whatever. Or, my wife did this, and this for me. And then the husband starts thinking, well, my wife doesn't do it. When we do that, we completely discredit what we have and the bond that we have in our relationship.
Right.
And I think that's huge. Whenever we get into that element, or the comparison game, and it goes for business as well, right, Carla? When we see somebody succeeding at a certain level, we automatically discredit what we've created.
What we've created. And we always and we do that. We all do that. We're also let's be honest, we all do that. You and I
did that for a long time as I was growing this brokerage.
And we still slip because we still do that. We still I'm not doing enough. I should be doing this. What am I not how is this person? So we're constantly always doing that. So nothing has changed. The approach is just a little different now. The outcome is a little different. It comes and goes so quickly. We own up to it. What happens when we compare ourselves, we let it all out. We kind of talk it out, and it's out there. It's not festering inside of us that we play the comparison game with this embarrassment. It's like, no, it's normal to play the comparison game.
You said something very interesting earlier as we started. You said, the comparison game typically doesn't happen when things are going good. But I think comparison really starts happening when we stop doing the things we should be doing. Right?
Because we feel
we're no longer focused on ourselves.
I think we feel the guilt that we're not running at the same pace, or something threw us off.
Yeah.
And then when something so small throws you off, it can literally become big in other areas of your life that you were working on, and you're like, dang, now it threw me off. I feel so far behind. In reality, you're not. You just took a couple of steps back.
Yeah.
But again.
But that's the time we should refocus on the things that we're not doing, as opposed to the things we don't have.
Right. And then you start, and because then your mind starts to compare, like, man.
Because it's really easy to say, I don't have this, I don't have that. And it's like, instead of focusing there, going into more negativity, just say, okay, what am I not doing?
Right.
Then focus there, and then all of a sudden you start focusing on where you want to go. Right. But I think the second, a second reason why when we start comparing is when we subconsciously try to sabotage ourselves. Things are going too good. Right. I remember, like, I was, we were starting out. We were hiring some agents, and I'm feeling great. Then I would look at somebody else and how many they hired, and it was way more than what I did.
Right.
And I'm like feeling down on myself.
I have to tell you something. I think this is very powerful, or very this is very important. I shouldn't say powerful. It's very important to understand that when you speak the game of comparison to other people and you land in the wrong hands, they're going to agree with you. And let me
clarify. Talk to me.
There was a time when we were doing that, and when we would speak out loud to other people, like, we got to change the strategy, we're doing something different, and you can just see in our words so much that we were playing the comparison game. So the other individuals would be like, they ended up getting so much, and they ended up doing this. So to me, not only am I down on myself, right, comparing ourselves, right, in other businesses, but then we have this poison that comes in and doesn't even realize that they're being poisonous to us, as to the words that they're saying. Oh, yeah, they are get bigger than you guys. They are this. They are that. They have this going on and this program going on. Oh, you guys just started.
Oh, they're actually even further sabotaging.
Right, and you don't even know that. They don't even know they're doing it. You don't even know that's happening. So you're going deeper in that mindset of like, wow, the comparison is like humongous now, that now it's jumping and bleeding.
Now it becomes facts.
Well, now it's not only bleeding into your marriage, but it's bleeding in other areas that now you're comparing.
Well, here's the thing. Like when somebody agrees to what you're saying, now we absorb it as a fact. And now we're like, oh, then everybody knows.
So I'm going to give you a prime example. I was talking to a salon owner.
Yes.
And we were talking about business or whatever, and he started, you can just tell he was kind of down. And I said,
business is hard.
Right, business is hard, just like everybody else, right? And I said, wow, you have something great here. You've built something phenomenal. I've known you for a couple of years, and this is awesome. I can't believe like you've turned the salon into this route, whatever. And he goes, yeah, I've done the work. And anyway, that doesn't matter. Then you can tell he's a little down, and he's like, but the salon down the street from me has like, 10 more techs. They doubled their income. I said, how do you know that they doubled on their income? Well, because when you have more techs, you make more money. I said, how do you know? Is there any partners? Is there anybody involved? How do you know their structure? How do you know their contracts per tech? Like, how do you know how they have it strategized? And then, so because if you will speak to the other salon owner that I know, she's going through some big headaches. And so if you speak to all these other owners, but you're just now only focused on the person that you see a lot of texts with.
Yeah.
Like you're not focusing on the small little details, the most important part of it. You're just focusing on the big, like what's out there. You see a lot of texts. That's all you see. You don't see everything else.
The profitability behind
right,
it.
you don't. Or the partners or just the contracts. You don't see anything.
Everything always has a different story.
So I told him, I said,
deep,
why
right?
don't you, exactly. I said, why don't you take a couple of steps back and start to see what you've created on your own? Like, this is massive. This is huge. So anyway, I started bringing him up a little bit, I stayed and talked to him for about a good hour, and it was like, and you can just see his shoulders coming up, and he's like, man, I've been following Do the Work for a long time. Like literally your words, like, so it's kind of absorbing. It's he's being that sponge. But I'm like, if he would have landed at that moment with the wrong customer, the wrong individual going in there, that person would have said, wow, it's dead in here.
Yes.
Wow, it's dead. And that salon down there, they're packed. That's why I came here, because it's dead.
Yeah.
So people don't realize that the words that they're using really can hurt someone.
Well, that's exactly what he did, right? Because you were telling me the story before we started this. And I remember being in that place, right? And so focused on what others are doing that we don't appreciate what we've done, what we've been through, the obstacles we've overcome. I could only imagine his story. And there's so much pride there, right? You walk in, you say, this place is so organized. Look at it. Like, you have top-of-the-line items.
I was telling him all that. Yeah, and I didn't realize what I was doing.
But he forgot at that moment because he was focused on someone else.
Right.
And we forget about that moment as we're focused on somebody else's marriage.
Right.
And it's like, you got to go back to the ordeals and the obstacles. Like, that's where I find a lot of appreciation in our marriage, Carla, is the fact that the shit we've been through, right? The stuff we've been through, the obstacles we've had to overcome, the nearly destruction of our marriage to what it is today.
Right.
That's what really drives me. But if I start comparing it to some other people, then I might feel like this small. But what that does is diminishes who I have as a spouse. It diminishes how far we've come.
Yep.
Right? And just the entire story. And I love the fact that, you told him that.
And I didn't realize that I was having that kind of conversation with him. I've just known him for quite some time. And I love that he wanted to start a conversation with me. And I didn't realize he was following me. I didn't know he followed.
But he also remembered you on the days you came in. Go ahead and tell that side of the story, because he's seen your growth as well over the years. Yeah. And he even told you. Well, I remember when you used to sit here just stressed out.
Yeah.
When you used to sit here, tears coming down your eyes of all the things we were going through, right?
So
with our business and everything else.
He first started up that salon, right? And so it was just, everything was kind of beat up and older, and it wasn't updated, right? And so we would have really great conversations regarding business, and he would just, and I think I can look back and look at my own face and my own body and my own, like, just everything
demeanor,
about me, yeah. And there was moments that he would be, working on whatever, and then I would just be in tears.
Yeah.
And he'd be like, are you okay? And I'm like, oh, I'm fine. I'm great. I'm good. And kind of put that face on, right? And I'm like, it's a complete stranger. So when he told me, I haven't seen you in a while, but I follow you and I follow Do the Work, and he starts telling me all these good things. And he's like, you and your husband are great, and I've gotten so much insight from you guys. So he said, but I remember when I first met you. and you started up this brokerage, it was like you were always in tears. You were always frustrated, and you were always just crying.
It's hard. Business is hard.
So him and I were like almost in tears having this conversation, because I'm like, you remember that? And he's like, yeah, I remember. And so when I saw your growth, like, wow, like now you're focusing on other areas. Like, I want to talk to you. How are you making this happen? So he became a sponge. And that's why I spent so much time with him, because it was just like, when you're willing to listen and learn and from people who've been there, done that, you want to become a sponge. You want to be like, what are you doing?
Become a student.
Right. You're not becoming the comparison game.
No.
You're now becoming that student that wants to learn from the person that you saw all this growth from, right? So he's just like, what have you guys been doing? So I've been talking, so you can just tell, like, everything about him just started shining.
Yeah.
But I'm like, man, what would your day had become
if you ran into
if I didn't run into him?
If you ran into the wrong person, you had the wrong people around you. And sometimes in marriages, Carla, like so many married couples have the wrong people around them. Other married couples in toxic relationships, singles in their lives that are saying, "Hey, just leave him."
And I want to get into that, AZ, because yesterday when I had this conversation with this,
help me finish these thoughts. Go ahead.
But I was getting into that what you're just saying right now about people around them. I was going to finish your thought right now, because yesterday when I was having this conversation, that's exactly what it was. It was like, who are you comparing? Because the more I was talking to this person, I said, who are you comparing yourself to?
Yeah.
Like, what marriage do you think are you looking at that you want your marriage to be identical to? Because I'm trying to understand what book you're reading that this is a perfect marriage and this is the way marriage should be. Like, that's what I'm trying.
That's
to
what
understand.
happens, right? When we're down about something, when we're down about our business, it's because we think it should be something else. Not realizing we're learning valuable lessons in that moment. You know, we're almost resenting the process.
Right.
We hate the process. And it's like the process is what makes you better in the end. And I think it just happens in all facets. I mean, how easy it is to compare our bodies to somebody else on Instagram, right?
You know what? It's not even just our bodies. We even compare our children.
Oh, yeah.
Even our children.
Yes.
Like I see these write-ups by these moms that write up like, my daughter's an angel, dropped from heaven, and she does everything perfect, and she's 10 years old and she's already studying being a doctor and reading all these books, and my kid's going to be an orthodontist. And
we're looking at our kids like...
And we're like, I'm like, Abigail, Madeline, like, go read something. Go read something, like, do some math. like little. So we even play that comparison game,
even with pets.
With pets.
Like, my dog doesn't know how to do that trick.
I had a ton of messages the other day. You've been posting about our dog, right? And I had a ton of messages.
Is like
I know. I have messages like, hey, how is your husband training these dogs? Like, my dog's dumb. And I'm like, why are you playing the comparison game? You have no idea how long it took Boyd to even sit or even go to the bathroom outside.
Poor dog's been shaken a few times. I'll tell you what. I read this. I don't know if it's up to date or not, but I remember growing up, I had a dog that I really wanted to train.
Yeah.
And I read this book, and it said, like, if you ever, like, you never want to hit a dog, right? Yeah. But what you can do is do what a mom, the dog's mom would do, which is would grab it by the neck and kind of shake him, like kind of grab him from this part of the neck right here to discipline, right? So that's kind of what I do. So like every time he does something, I kind of just grab him from here and I shake him a bit. Now I'm not violent. They are well taken care of dogs.
We all.
So next thing you know, I'm gonna have PETA right at my door.
I know, but
no, these dogs
on your defense, they're crybaby. Like you don't even have to touch them. You'll put your hand on top. They're like, arr, arr, arr.
Yeah.
I'm like, you didn't even touch you.
No, but they want to please, and of course, I mean.
But
we look at our dogs
and we compare. Yeah, everything's a comparison game. I do want to talk about going back to the kids. I've had a couple of messages like as to how our oldest is going to all these mission trips. How does she get into it?
Yeah.
And I never like to compare these kids because you don't know what your kid's going to become at 21, 22. You don't know their journey. You only know the journey because they're living with you and you're creating for them. But they've already created what they're going, like you don't even know what they're thinking, what their next move is.
Right.
So we're playing this comparison game, and yet at 21, your child doesn't even come out to what you thought was going to come. Or
I am a testament to that. I mean, but people thought about me as a teenager to what I am today, right? As a teenager, they were like,
you. Amen to that,
poor woman. They were probably telling me, I'm like, I feel sorry for you. And here we are. So we never know.
We never know. And so when I read these write-ups on kids, and I'm like, I think it's great. I think we should brag about our kids. It's a lot of work being a parent. I love it. We should brag about our business that's successful. We should brag about our marriage. I love taking pictures with you because you literally are my everything. I love to brag about it. But no one knows the headaches that we've gone through our business.
Oh, hell no.
No one knows that we almost lost our first child and the mission that we had to get to where we're at today with our kids. No one knows the hard work and the endless days and hours we didn't see our kids because we're building our businesses. No one knows what we go through in our marriage on a daily basis. After this podcast, somehow we tend to argue for about good 10 minutes and we want to cutthroat each other, and all of a sudden we're hugging each other. No one knows everything. No, everyone just sees, that what social media, what we post. But it's okay to also enjoy that, hey, I love life with you. I love business with you. I love life with you.
And there's no shame in that.
There's no shame in that. Absolutely
Zero shame
not.
in being proud of what you're building.
Throw it out there. It's everyone goes to the exact same headache, pain.
Everything. And that's one of the things that I think is important. Like, if you're struggling with your business, everyone has struggled with their business. It's up to you to decide, are you going to move forward, or are you going to be stuck in that place feeling like you've been victimized and things are not going for you?
Right.
And that is where we need to credit ourselves. Like, really just appreciate where you were 6 months ago. I promise you, like, if you've just been plowing forward, you're in a better place today than you were 6 months ago.
And to say this, when I was talking to the gentleman, he said, I have really bad luck. Don't ever say that to yourself.
That's the negative self-talk, right?
To yourself. I have really bad luck. I'm like, look around you.
Look around.
You have bad luck. I don't even want to go into that conversation, but bad luck is the worst thing you can tell yourself.
Well, that's negative self-talk. Yeah. And we create in our real life what our thoughts are in, right? So, our reality is the manifestation of all these thoughts of what we think it should be.
Right.
And when we're in that place, we will create an energy that invites more of that. And that's why I think faith is so important, Carla.
Right.
I think faith is so important, and a lot of people automatically think that it has to do with religion. I think faith is important to know that, hey, there's something greater than us pulling us forward. Like, for me, that's what drives me, knowing that there's something greater kind of like pushing me forward.
Right, and that you're saying that. And I'm going to finish your thoughts.
Okay. Oh, you're going to be in the conversation this time.
I'm going to be in the conversation.
I thought you were going to switch it around and forget everything I said.
That's why I have to run my own podcast, because I got so much to say.
Run it. But if you want to be with me, can we at least engage?
I did at the beginning, remember, but then I missed you, because this works.
Yeah.
Like, this works.
Yeah, this works. It's all right.
So
it got a little tough for a while, though. Like, I didn't want to do these anymore with you, and vice versa.
I don't want to read your text, the text that I sent you, in regards to I had to look beyond you and I on something we were creating, something so much more bigger than this marriage.
Then I'll read it. And you know what? I'm going to read it, and I've shared this a couple times with a couple of our agents because it hit me to the core. As a matter of fact, the first time I shared it with somebody, Frank Martin was in my office. And I started tearing up.
And I wrote you this.
Now he's making fun of me for tearing up.
I wrote you this because I wrote you. Oh, thanks, Frank Martin.
He came to my office. He's like, "Oh, you all right, man? You got us over there."
And I was teasing you,
bro. Bro, what's up?
I love it.
I opened up to you.
I opened up to you, but I do want to say this because I had to look beyond where we got married for other reasons, not for the reasons we thought, and this had to work. I think
we got married for our own personal ambitions, but I think it's greater than that now. It's for the growth of
and I guess when I was having this conversation with
impact.
I had a conversation with this young lady yesterday in the marriage in regards to, and I asked her a very important question. I said, "Do you still want to be in the marriage?" And she said, "I do. I think I do." She goes, "No, I do." I said, "Okay, then you need to go and take control of what you want in that marriage.
Yes.
You need to go. Stop waiting for the other person. You need to go. I'm telling you.
Once you know what you want, that gives you direction.
It gives you direction. You're not going to stop. So I knew what we wanted. I knew where we were going. I'm like, wait, this is way beyond us.
Yeah, it's way beyond us.
This is way beyond us.
And I'm glad you feel that way.
I could no longer be like, you're not paying attention to me.
It's bigger.
It's bigger than that. It's bigger than that. It's bigger than you and I.
I love that.
So I wrote you
that. You wrote me a text, and it did hit me to the core. And like I said, I was being made fun of by one of the agents here.
I appreciate that, Frank.
But it's okay. I wear my heart on my sleeve.
Instead of providing you with the tissue, a little piece of his shirt.
No, he comes in the following day. He's like, "Oh, you all right, bro? You got something in your eyes?" But at that moment, because I think at the moment of doubt, the moment of fear, and then you get reminded by the right person. Like, you just sent this text out of nowhere, right? And I needed it at that specific moment because there's my own thoughts and my own feelings around where we're going on the next level with our business. It's scary as hell. Like anytime you venture off for what you do on a daily basis, it's scary.
Right.
And the next steps we're taking, not only with Do the Work, but with our brokerage, the financial commitments behind that are something that's way beyond what I imagined. So yes, it is scary as hell.
Yeah.
To a point where it can paralyze, it can second guess. I mean, I second guess myself, right? Am I doing the right thing? Is this a calculated risk? And I said, and you said this, I am praying for your vision to become reality. You have been waiting for this for a very long time. So much goodness is going to come out of this. The massive changes in others through your vision. Your vision is wanting more to provide more. I am here to serve you, not as my husband, but a life God told me to watch over with love and patience. I'm happy to be alongside of you through it all. Pain, failure, embarrassment, shame, and success. I love you. And that hit me to the core. Because anything you step beyond the threshold of your current capacity, there's always that risk of pain, failure, embarrassment, shame.
That's right.
As a matter of fact, it's almost guaranteed.
It's guaranteed it's going to happen.
It's guaranteed, right?
Yeah.
So this new venture that we're going into, right? The expansion of what we're doing, holy shit. It's huge.
The reason why I wrote that.
But it's bigger than me. It's bigger than us.
It is. The reason why I wrote that, because we're both in the same industry. We're both in the same business. We both have the same mindset. We both want what we want, and we're going to go and get it, right? I already know all that pain that's going to bring to us.
The stress.
The stress, right.
Yeah, the frustrations.
There's a lot that's coming our way. I reminded myself that morning, we've been here before, and we've gone through all this, and we've built great things, and now we just want more. We want more to provide more.
Yeah.
So my mind wants to go into kind of getting upset with you in other areas of frustration that have nothing to do with you, that I have to, do my end of the deal of all this, right?
Right.
So I want to turn to you and be like, oh, I'm overwhelmed.
Well,
and,
you've had to meet with our CPA several times, getting the financials ready going.
But that morning, AZ, I took steps back and be like, wait, I can't argue with him and fight with him. I'm on the same team with him.
Yes.
And this is way beyond us. This is not this husband and wife anymore. This is a life, a human that is wanting to build something great, and I got to run alongside with him. If anything, if I'm not with him, it can possibly fall apart.
Yeah, or it won't even start. And that's the thing, like, that was my whole point to this. It's like when you have your spouse on the same page, the game becomes, like, no one could stop your progression. And I think that's why I was feeling that way, because I saw you so frustrated in the financials. You had stacks of paper all around you, right? You had files and on your computer, and you're communicating back and forth to our CPA. And that's stress that I think that's why people don't want to move to the next step, because it's going to require so much of them.
Right.
Investment of time, energy, the frustrations, the obstacles.
Right.
So I think that's why I was kind of feeling a little down too, because I don't want to bring that pain onto you.
And then also I want you to make sure and you're secure. I want to, and I'm going to write dailies to you, and that's what I've been doing.
Yeah, I get a text
I've been writing
all the time.
daily because I
Some
want
of
you
them
to
are visually pleasing. I'll tell you that. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Very descriptive, by the way.
No, keep this PG. Keep this PG.
We'll have a.
But I think it's important that you know this.
Go ahead.
That I'm not worried about the success part of it. Because if it's success, there's no problems. We're all happy and it's good.
Right.
I want you to feel secure that if it all fails,
I know,
I'm right there.
And you told me that once before.
And we can lose it all.
And we have before.
And we've had before. And I've had.
And you stuck to your end of the bargain.
Yes.
And I'm the one who almost destroyed everything.
I want you to know that if you can do it 1,000 times, and I am going to be right by your side. Because nothing to me matters. Nothing. Everything is materialistic. But this has to work because it's beyond you and I.
And I think it's so important for a man to understand that. Like knowing that your spouse is on the same page as you and that trusts you. And here's the thing. I built that trust over the years, Carla.
Right.
I built that trust with you. I continue to show up. Right. And, it goes a long way. Because if we're getting resistance within the walls of our own kingdom, like the fights outside only become much greater, like much tougher.
And I have to look at you too. In reality, all fails. Your personality is this.
I'm going.
What did you do? Why did you do it? You're a blamer.
I do.
But that's where I became stronger. It's not against me.
Yeah.
It's your own frustration.
And you mirror it back to me though. Right. You won't take it. You used to just sit back and allow me to like put it all on you.
Right.
So I couldn't reflect on myself of like, hey, it's time for you to fix it, because I was too busy blaming.
And I think a lot of times when you don't see that, it becomes a cat fight and it's an argument that no one really agrees with anyone. And
I prefer dog fight.
But you and I don't even fight like that anymore. We kind of take a step back,
well,
and we do argue, but the argument's a little different. It's more on a respectful manner of seeing the other person's view, and allowing that other person to express themselves without being so offended.
And you know what? Back to this point of this, and I'm glad you're saying all that, and how important it is to really have that support from the other person. But it's earned.
Right.
I just couldn't expect that support from you if I constantly was just, failing and belittling you.
Yes. I love that you brought that up because it's so important. It was earned.
It was earned.
And then I had to do the work on my end.
Yeah.
I had to do the work. I had
and you had to trust
strong.
me again.
I had my backbone. Yep. I had to. It was on both ends.
It was on both ends.
Yeah.
And the whole point to that text was like, this is only possible. I mean, for us to like risk so much going into what we're doing, it's because you have faith in the fact that I'm going to deliver.
Yeah.
Period. And I love that. It drives me so much. It's a reaffirmation in myself.
Right.
Like, I'm going to get this thing done, regardless of how big it is. And right now I can't process the magnitude of what we're doing, but I have the faith that I can get it done.
Right.
If you were to question it the entire time, if you were to complain about your role in this,
right,
I don't think I could come in with the same confidence.
Right.
And I put something out on Facebook today. If you're not following us, please look for us on Facebook and Instagram. But I wrote this. It's like, maybe I can't find it. Gosh darn it.
Just
That's
breathe,
the second.
Take your time. You're emotional on my text.
Am I emotional on your text?
Yeah.
Right now, you can feel that?
Yeah, I can feel that energy.
No, it feels good. That's what I want to tell you. It feels good.
Your glasses block the tear that came
No, there's no tears. Frank Martin, you ain't gonna make fun of me anymore. You ain't got me on that. And you know what? I don't care. I'm like my dad. I learned to appreciate that side of me. That, there's some things that really work up my emotions. And it doesn't. And we were just talking about this, Carla. Like, we hear so much stories of tragedy, right? We hear so many stories of how bad human nature can actually be. Other humans can be, right? Perpetrators and villains out there.
Right.
And when people tell me their stories, it doesn't, I can't feel this, like, it doesn't hit me emotionally.
Right.
Because I've been through my fair share of it, and I've heard your stories, and you've been through your fair share of it. Like, that emotion, that pain,
right,
is not within me, because I think we've all experienced certain levels of pain, different experiences,
right,
but the same pain.
Right.
But what really gets me going is when they have that story, and then they do something about it.
Right.
Like the path to victory.
Right.
Oh, that like really hits home, and
right.
I love it.
Yeah.
And I love it. And I think when I was reading that, I appreciated my own story.
Right.
Not the pain that I was in, but what I did with it.
With it, right.
And that's why the tears were coming down my eyes, because I know my story and I appreciate it, and I'm not comparing myself to others.
Well, if
and
you
I love
did,
it.
You would be losing every time.
I would be. Here we are. It says, I said, most are unwilling to take the next step when the ugly truth of success contradicts the pretty picture they have painted in their minds. And like you were saying, no one knows the backstory. We're only seeing the beautiful story that's put out there on Instagram and Facebook and the whole 9 yards, right? But it goes way beyond that. Appreciate where you're at. Build that trust with your spouse, and you will become unstoppable. And I feel that way. So I want to thank you for that text anyway.
You are very welcome.
And I'm already teared out, so I don't I'm good. I'm good.
I think it's a great conversation.
Yeah, and I think we're going to dive into it a little bit more. But wherever you're at with your business, if you're running a business with your spouse, it's never easy, and somebody else doesn't have it better than you. What you have to focus on is how far you've actually come, and appreciate the path that you've taken. I mean, it's some heavy stuff you've been through. And when you can do that, it actually fuels future growth, because it reminds you how resilient you truly are. So try that in anything that you're looking at that's not working for you, in your marriage, in your business, for your body. I mean, as you take these steps and you just start comparing yourself from who you were to who you are today, that's where the real growth happens, as opposed to looking at somebody else and giving them all the credit and discrediting your own path and your own journey.
You know what? Some of the things I do is I start writing down so much beauty.
Can hear?
Oh, gosh.
I can't hear you.
Oh,
sorry.
my word. You can hear me. Some of the things I started doing is I started writing down a lot of the things that caused me so much pain and the fire that I needed to, succeed at a higher level.
Yeah.
And so then I started writing down all the things I have done, and I started celebrating my success and everyone else's. It just gave me all this joy to just feel like the understanding of wow, I've come really extremely far in all the things I've done, and I'm just so curious, and I'm wanting what else I can do, and what else is there's more to me than just there,
Yeah.
But I know that I fall into the trap just like everybody else. When you start comparing yourself, you start just taking a step back, you start falling back. Instead of just writing and really writing down, there's so many thoughts that go through our head.
Yeah.
There's millions of thoughts a day. Really start writing down all the goodness in your life.
And it's funny you say that, because I was just writing a letter to myself again, okay? And I was just describing the current situation, because I think one thing that we fail to understand.
I said it, and you're actually doing it?
I'm writing. Yeah, I said, I just started here. I said, Dear AZ, oh man, how beautiful is life. Yeah. I just wanted to let you know how things are. Yeah. As you read this, you will be light years ahead, mentally, physically, and spiritually. I am you in the past, but I can see you. I know how certain and powerful you will become. I can't believe you built up. And then I start going into the details, because I'm already doing my job in the present to set up the future me for success in the future.
I think that not just writing things. That's why I don't write so much. I write more of the little words and the details of it. I think the detail is extremely important.
Yeah.
Not so much what you're actually writing, it's the detail. What are you planning on doing? What are the details of the pain or the success, or what the future is going to bring, or what else you want? It's the details of it that's so important, so you can move forward on that.
Yeah.
And little baby steps, just small little steps on being uncomfortable every day. Just that's the only way that you're going to overcome all that.
Yeah.
And understanding all that pain that all those other successful people have gone through.
Yeah, and it's like, as you speak in front of large crowds, that only came because you started speaking to the camera on Facebook every single day.
Right.
Those are the small baby steps that really accumulate to something greater.
I always say that. Take one thing a day and just make it just uncomfortable.
Yeah, because if we're thinking constantly just about the future, we're going to get overwhelmed by it.
Yep.
And that's why the past actually fuels. The past fuels you. The future guides you.
Right. You need that.
The present is the things you have to do today.
People, that's like in some of my coaching, why bring back the past? You need the past.
Yeah.
That's the fire you need.
Yeah.
If you don't have the past and you're feeling like I'm great.
The problem is people use it.
You're dying. You need the past.
They misuse the past. Yeah. They misuse it as they've been victimized by it, as opposed to dude, I got over this.
I always tell this to people. If you go watch my first videos on Facebook, I'm this one angry woman, but I needed that to get me here. So I can't go and delete who I was, because that's really who I was. A lot of me is still that person, because I need her.
Yeah.
I need her.
Yeah.
It's very important to keep that Carla, because that really is who she is. But now I know how to modify her a little bit, move her around a little bit. But the Carla, if you go back to those videos, I'm like, because I needed that. And I'm not embarrassed or ashamed of it. I had to take steps to get out of that comfort zone and understand that this is who I am. And I can't play the comparison game, because that woman over there is speaking in this low tone voice and this proper vocabulary. I'm like, no, I'm just going to go hard. And this is Carla. And wham. And then the more I started doing it, the more I started to get comfortable, the more I started being like, okay, I don't need to be so loud. This is who I am. So I started getting to know myself more. I love all the comments that I get, negative or good. It doesn't really matter. They don't trigger me anymore, because that's not who I was, and I only become stronger. I'm not.
So you're using the comparison game in a different manner. It's who you were to who you are.
But that fire, my past, I need it. It's a beautiful thing.
Awesome. I love you go hard. When you think about your past and you're in the gym, you go work out hard. I'll tell you that.
I need that. I need that fuel.
All right. I think that does it for us today, Carla. That does it for us. I think it was a great conversation. We're going to have to explore on this a little bit more. But again, just to recap, we're all going through those challenges, right? In business, in marriage. Focus on you. Focus on you. It's a lot easier to fix things when you're focused on what you can do, as opposed to wishing they were a different way, right?
That's right.
So again, as we started this podcast, if you rate, subscribe, and review, and you send me a picture either through the social media platforms or email me at az@dothework.com, showing me that you'd give a review, we will send you one.
What are we giving? A hat? Are we giving a hat
you saw my model earlier. Like, why?
Oh, that's right. You're giving the shirt.
Yeah, the shirt, the Do the Work one.
Throw in a little hat in there. Throw in a hat.
I don't know about a hat. Maybe the first 5. Maybe I'll throw both of it in there for you.
All right,
I might do that. But you'll at least get a shirt free of charge, and you'll also get it shipped to you free as our thank you for continuing to support Do the Work, our podcast, and everything that we do. So thank you very much for joining us for another episode of Comparison.
I love it. Thank you all so much. Have a great weekend.
All right. We'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye now.